everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brooke. In today's video, I will be showing you how I set up and surprised my fiance with a League of Legends inspired birthday party. And before we get into the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my future videos. And without further ado, let's get into it. The first thing that I worked on was making the Yordle trap, which is one of Caitlyn's abilities in the game. I started by hot gluing a cardboard ring together and then added in the pieces that resembled the jaws. I then added in the pan where the cupcake is going to sit, and then it was ready to paint. I didn't really take any measurements for making this trap. I just used a stencil and eyeballed the different components of the trap and then used those stencils for the other pieces. This really took me no time at all. Waiting for the glue to dry was the longest part, and I really like how it turned out. On day 2, I started working on creating the champion posters. I definitely could have gone to Staples or some other store to print out the champions, but I really wanted to DIY it. So I headed down to the depths of my basement and used our trusty printer to print out the images of Kaisa. I used a website called Block Poster, which allows you to upload your image and then you can choose how large you want the poster to be. Then you can print it out and tape them all together. Unfortunately, I mucked up the settings, so I had all of the white borders still to cut off, so that was a time-consuming event, but after all those strips had been cut, it was time to tape them together. This was harder than it looked. Since I had to cut out all of those white edges, the pieces of paper weren't perfectly straight, which was some added difficulty for me to ensure that the correct body parts matched up with each other. But after taping the entire poster, I used cardboard boxes on the back to help stabilize the paper and make sure they didn't roll or get damaged. These turned out amazing, and from afar, it's really difficult to even see that it's a bunch of paper taped together. I picked this particular stance of Kaisa because it looks like she's mid-air or coming in for a landing, and I knew I wanted to hang a poster from the spiral staircase. I ended up punching 2 holes in the cardboard on the back and weaved a ribbon through to hang. Back to the Yordle trap, I initially wanted to use spray paint since it would be the quickest way to paint the trap, but unfortunately we didn't have any on hand, so I ended up mixing white and black acrylic paint together to create a gray, which worked very nicely. Back inside, I started working on cutting out all the images for Ari and began work on forming her poster. I used the same technique as I did Kaisa, which was making sure the 2 pieces of paper that were going to be next to each other lined up, and then I taped all the way up the seam on the back. I chose not to cut around Ari and left her poster square. There was just too much going on in this photo that if I cut anything off, it would have looked too weird, and I'm really glad that I made that decision. And then again, I went in with that cardboard just to act as a stabilization, and then her poster was complete. This morning I worked solely on cutting out Malzahar. He was the biggest poster that I had to create, standing a little over 8 feet tall, and my hands were pretty sore from the day before by cutting out Ari and Kaisa, so I just worked slowly at cutting out all of his pages. I was also a bit intimidated by how big this poster was going to be, and I didn't have enough cardboard for his backing at this point, so I was procrastinating a little bit on just finishing him that day. I also trimmed on the poster just so that there were no harsh edges and that the sole focus was on his body and that it looked really good and stood out. Today I finished Malzahar. It took me so long to tape all the pages together, but it turned out so well. I finally scrounged up enough cardboard and piecemealed his backing together so that he stood sturdy. I have him envisioned as you walk in the hallway that he is standing there, so I needed this cardboard to ensure that there were no rolling of the pages and that he was going to stand up properly. I unfortunately didn't get any footage of me creating the match found or the last drop poster, but I wanted to show them here because they took a lot of time and work and turned out really well. I just used the game and the Arcane TV show as references and then did my design in this circular pattern. This day, I started work on making the picks and bans wall art that would be seen as you walk into the hallway. For this, I just looked up what the game actually shows and then drew it on a piece of poster paper. And then I cut out different champion images and then created a sort of backdrop. I also made this victory sign, which you would hopefully see at the end of the game, and I just used brown markers and a gold pen and then played around with the shading, and I really like how the dimension turned out on these. And while I was working on the posters, I had the 3D printer going, and it was working on the Hextech key. I started off the day by finishing the defeat sign. I also had some more 3D prints that I wanted to decorate the room with, so while I was sketching out the sign, the 3D printer was going. For the sign, I had the victory sign in front of me, so I used that as a guide, and then I just colored it in the same way with those gold and brown pens. I also had the 3D printer going as I was doing various art stuff just so I could be multitasking. My vision of the actual party was surrounded by the fact that I wanted it to feel like you were stepping into the game or onto Summoner's Rift. So for my next decoration, I created a Runeterra region signpost. I wanted the sign at the top to say Summoner's Rift and point into the family room. And then I created other signs and colored them loosely based on what I thought they would look like. This consisted of me going to the League Universe website and looking at the artwork for inspiration. At this point, some of the 3D prints were finished. The Baron Nashor and Dragon were complete. These were elements I was going to use as part of the decorations for the food table. I got to work on creating my first blood banner. This was going to be hung on the TV stand. So I just cut out some triangles, all of the same dimension, and then I got to work on putting the same font that you see on the actual pennant squares. I outlined these in black and then I went in with my gold pen and filled in the actual letters. At this point, all of the 3D prints were finally complete, but they were not painted. And a quick disclaimer, I did not create these designs. I just did not have enough time and skill to whip these up within 2 weeks, so I got them from a free 3D print design forum. Full credit to the individuals who created these. They are absolutely amazing. I have them on the screen here, but also linked down below if you would like to check them out and print them yourself. So I just went in and removed all the support material from the prints and then began working on painting them. I also colored in all of the signposts that I had designed earlier in the week. I used a combination of pens, markers, and watercolors to color in the designs. I again went on the League Universe website and pulled colors that the artwork highlighted. For example, the Shadow Isles had a lot of the champions and the land colored with this green-blue, so I chose to color in the signs that way. I also added the finishing touches to the first blood banner. I just went in with a reddish orange, a blue, and a green border, alternating the colors for each pennant, and then I strung them all together. For the birthday backdrop, I was planning on reusing a happy birthday banner that I had bought at Target many years ago, but I wanted a personalized touch to it, so I created this banner which resembles the old League of Legends logo, and instead I put my fiancé's name on it. This morning, I started out by painting the 3D prints. I went in with a purple and greenish turquoise for the Baron Nashor, and then went with a red for the dragon. These are both painted with acrylic paints, and the figurines turned out so cute. For the hallway, I wanted to create what happens when you first accept a league match. So you ban a champion, you pick a champion, you get sent into the game, and then you pick your starter item. I was working on 3 starter items here, using the game as a reference. I also created a Hextech chest by creating a hinge cardboard box and adhering poster paper that I had drawn on to resemble the Hextech chest. I actually ran out of gold metallic pen by the end of this project. I then moved on to creating the food labels. They included Poro Snacks, Red and Blue Side Fruit Skewers, Summoner's Rift 7-layer dip, and Yordle Trap. These were all super quick and added a really nice touch to the room. I was going to have these propped up next to each food item for our watch party. I finished off the day by cutting out these purple circles that I created for the Timo mushrooms. These were going to go on top of the green balloons that I had bought, and then I was also going to have a cardboard cuff that made it look like the actual mushroom stem. So I just spent the remainder of the day cutting out these tiny circles and getting everything prepped for tomorrow. Today was my last day of designing and creating for the party. I quickly got to work on making the wards, which I cut out of cardboard. This is kind of a last-minute addition to the decoration plans. I just thought that something was missing and decided to add in these classic stealth wards. I cut out poster paper and drew on the design and then taped it to the cardboard. These were probably my favorite thing I created. I just love the vibrant colors. And then for the rest of the day, I worked on wrapping his gifts and getting ready for the party tomorrow. Today was not actually his birthday. His birthday fell on a Sunday, but I wanted him to enjoy the league space for the max amount of time, so I decided to decorate on a Friday while he was at work. It took me all day to decorate this space. I think I finished with like 30 minutes before he came home. The most time-consuming part was hanging up all this black poster paper on the windows. I wanted to make this space dark enough to add to the gaming theme, but also so that there was no glare on the TV when we were watching the matches. I next got started on the bands, picks, and starter item wall. I just hung up all the art pieces that I created and wrote each of the champions' names beneath their pictures. I put Malzahar up next and just hung him from the ceiling. I placed the First Blood banner on the TV stand and then got working on hanging the streamers. These streamers create a really cool effect because you can't actually see into the family room, which creates another sort of anticipation as you walk down the hallway. I hung up Ari and then got to work on the birthday backdrop. I added in balloons and the Happy Birthday Trevor signage. And then for the Timo mushrooms, I just placed purple circles and the cuffs. And here's the final walkthrough of the League surprise party. Thank you so much for watching how I surprised my fiance with a League of Legends inspired birthday party. And now, the man of the hour, the birthday boy himself, Trevor. I brought you on to make some final remarks about your surprise birthday party.
Yeah, I mean, it was just so much fun. I literally had no idea that any of this had been going on for like 2 weeks, which is just insane. And I just really appreciated the amount of effort and energy that Brooke put into it. It was very special.
I was actually very worried that you were going to know that something was up because I was just lying to you every day and it felt awful. I'm glad that you had no idea. What was your favorite part about the surprise birthday party?
I think the reveal just of how, you know, you had like the entryway, and then
the hallway, and then
the door, the hallway, and then entering into the main room. It was just really cool. Like a good little immersion.
He's lying. He liked the Poro snacks the best.
Oh my gosh, those snickerdoodles were so good. Oh, okay, maybe that was the best part. Yeah. Do you have any more of those?
No.
Oh.
Thank you so much for watching. See you later. Bye.